WESU at Wesleyan University in Middletown, Connecticut began in 1939, making it one of the oldest college radio stations in the country. Station WES, as it was called before the FCC issued the full call letters in 1949, was referred to as the Cardinal Network. The students funded the entire operation, and they found it in the basement of Clark Hall, inspired and helped by students who ran the radio station at Brown University. They surreptitiously laid wires at night all around the dormitory steam pipes so that the entire building of Clark became an antenna. WSU's signal at the time was only 300 watts, and it was AM. In an attempt to reach the fraternity houses on the outskirts of campus, WSU expanded by attaching to Middletown's water pipes, and by 1940, the signal was heard as far as Meriden and Hartford. Although unlicensed, the station still followed the rules and regulations of the National Broadcasting System and operated as though it were a professional radio network. Programs included popular music shows, including swing band music and classical, campus events, sports, and radio dramas. At this time, WESU was operating daily and providing approximately 5 hours a day of student broadcasting. Two popular student shows at the time were The Jive at 5, broadcasting the latest swing band sounds, and Grandfather's Tales, a horror story show.
Hey, I can't find nothing on the radio. Yo, turn to that station.
In 1961, WESU moved from AM to FM. By 1973, WESU was broadcasting 7 days a week, 19 hours a day, and with the power of 1,850 watts. The station established eclectic programming that included local news productions, radio dramas, documentaries, talk shows, live musical and sporting events, and an extremely varied music schedule. The scheduling at this time was in block format. The block format meant that each day had an allotted time for specific genres, with specialty shows usually on the weekend. In 1980, WESU led a nationwide boycott of Arista Records after it began charging non-profit college radio stations for certain promotional music. With WESU taking the lead, the boycott spread to other college stations and lasted about a year, until Arista threatened a lawsuit. With no legal muscle behind them, the boycott fizzled out. But WESU still did not play any music it would have to pay for from Arista. From then on, WESU was committed to playing independent labels and music. In 1987, the first CD played on WESU was Les Miserables.
I tried to turn it off, to say goodbye, my love, that radio song. Hey, hey, hey.
1989 marked the official 50th anniversary of WESU, and also was when the station abandoned its block programming in favor of free-form programming. Free-form programming allowed DJs to design their shows however they wanted, and not be confined to block genres. Although WESU's move from Clark had been in the works for 15 years, the actual evacuation was sprung on the station suddenly in 2000. Wesleyan Broadcast Association had gone defunct, and nobody knew about the proper status of the organization, except that it was in limbo. The move from Clark Hall to WESU's present location at 45 Broad Street was a hasty and messy transition that further complicated the situation. In 2003, the university went into negotiation with the board and acquired the license back. The station was finally able to hire a general manager to give WESU the needed institutional and managerial backbone. The university decided that the station would take on national public radio programming to help raise the funds to pay for the general manager position. The university also decided that only students would make up the board of directors. This has changed as of 2006, and community volunteers are allowed to hold certain board positions. During this time, plans were made to get the station back on track and on its way to a more stable, self-sustainable model. WESU is still taking its baby steps toward actualizing this new organizational model, which in a few years will allow the station to grow and become less dependent on NPR programming.
Hey, hey, hey. Say what's that, what? Hey, hey, hey.
affectionately known by staff and listeners over the years as the little station with the big sound, WESU has come a long way since its inception back in 1939 and has created a long-lasting partnership with the Middletown community that has endured and thrived for over 7 decades. WESU has developed into an award-winning international beacon of listener-supported NPR and Pacifica-affiliated community radio. WESU's events like the Community Record Fair, talks, concerts, unique programming, and services like the Middletown Youth Radio Project and our daily Jive at 5 community calendar have further solidified its place in the Connecticut River Valley and within the canon of vibrant community radio stations. After a jump to 6,000 watts of power in 2010, WESU now has a potential to serve well over 1 million listeners throughout Connecticut and southern Massachusetts, in addition to countless others around the world who stream programming online at WESUFM.org.
I'm froze by desire, no need to leave. Where would I be?